Why do some men command respect the moment they enter a room, while others spend their entire lives chasing approval? Why are some people impossible to manipulate, impossible to intimidate, and impossible to ignore? The answer is not luck. It is not talent, and it is certainly not confidence alone. The answer is self-mastery. Most people today are ruled by four things: a restless mind, a careless mouth, impulsive actions, and uncontrolled spending. They think whatever comes into their head, they say whatever comes into their mouth. They chase whatever catches their attention, and they spend whatever lands in their pocket. Then they wonder why nobody respects them. In this video, you will learn how to carry yourself like a king, not a king with a crown, but a king with control. Because according to Machiavelli, power begins the moment you stop being ruled by yourself. Today, we will master 4 kingdoms: your mind, your mouth, your moves, and your money. Master these 4, and you will become the kind of man people feel before they understand. Niccolò Machiavelli once understood a truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. A man does not lose his power because others take it. He loses it because he gives it away. He gives it away through emotional reactions, through unnecessary words, through reckless actions, and through foolish spending. Look around. Most people live as servants to their impulses. Their emotions decide their thoughts. Their thoughts decide their words. Their words create their actions. And their actions create a life they never intended to build. Then they ask why respect escapes them. But respect has never belonged to the loudest man. It belongs to the most disciplined one. A king is not recognized by his crown. He is recognized by his control. When chaos surrounds him, he remains calm. When others talk endlessly, he listens. When others rush, he calculates. When others waste, he accumulates. And because he controls himself, he becomes difficult to control. That is the secret. The greatest victory is not over another man, it is over the weaknesses within yourself. Today, you will learn the 4 disciplines that separate rulers from followers. The discipline of the mind, the discipline of the mouth, the discipline of movement, and the discipline of money. These are not merely habits, they are weapons. Master them, and your presence will change. Your decisions will change. Your future will change. Because the world does not bow to potential, it bows to power. And power begins with self-mastery. So sit closely, observe carefully, and let us begin with the first kingdom every king must conquer, the kingdom within his own mind. Niccolò Machiavelli once understood a truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. A man does not lose his power because others take it. He loses it because he gives it away. He gives it away through emotional reactions, through unnecessary words, through reckless actions, and through foolish spending. Look around. Most people live as servants to their impulses. Their emotions decide their thoughts. Their thoughts decide their words. Their words create their actions. And their actions create a life they never intended to build. Then they ask why respect escapes them. But respect has never belonged to the loudest man. It belongs to the most disciplined one. A king is not recognized by his crown. He is recognized by his control. When chaos surrounds him, he remains calm. When others talk endlessly, he listens. When others rush, he calculates. When others waste, he accumulates. And because he controls himself, he becomes difficult to control. That is the secret. The greatest victory is not over another man. It is over the weaknesses within yourself. Today, you will learn the 4 disciplines that separate rulers from followers. The discipline of the mind, the discipline of the mouth, the discipline of movement, and the discipline of money. These are not merely habits. They are weapons. Master them, and your presence will change. Your decisions will change. Your future will change, because the world does not bow to potential, it bows to power, and power begins with self-mastery. So sit closely, observe carefully, and let us begin with the first kingdom every king must conquer, the kingdom within his own mind. Control your mind. Before a king can rule a kingdom, he must first rule the battlefield inside his own head. This is where most men fail, not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack talent, but because they have surrendered control of their minds to every emotion, every distraction, and every impulse that crosses their path. Look around you. Most people are not thinking, they are reacting. A single insult ruins their day. A single rejection destroys their confidence. A single setback convinces them to quit. Their emotions pull them in one direction, their fears pull them in another, and their desires drag them somewhere else entirely. And then they wonder why their lives feel chaotic. Machiavelli understood something dangerous. A man who cannot govern himself will always be governed by someone else. Think about it. If another person can make you angry whenever they choose, who truly holds the power? If a stranger's opinion can determine your mood, who controls your mind? If fear can stop you from acting, who is really making your decisions? The answer is simple. You are not in command. And a king who is not in command of himself is not a king at all. The first sign of a powerful mind is emotional discipline, not the absence of emotion, control of it. Many people believe strength means never feeling fear. This is foolish. Every king feels fear. Every warrior feels doubt. Every leader experiences uncertainty. The difference is that they refuse to obey those feelings. Weak men consult their emotions before making decisions. Strong men consult their principles. A weak man says, "I don't feel motivated today." A disciplined man says, "It doesn't matter how I feel." A weak man says, "I'm afraid of failing." A disciplined man says, "Fear is not the authority here." This is why so many people remain trapped. They wait for confidence before taking action. But confidence is often the reward of action, not the cause of it. The king acts first, then confidence follows. Most people spend their lives fighting battles that do not exist. They replay conversations from years ago. They imagine criticism that has not happened. They create enemies in their minds. They invent disasters in their imagination. And while they are busy fighting ghosts, real opportunities pass them by. Your mind is either your greatest ally or your greatest enemy. There is no middle ground. If you do not consciously direct it, it will wander into fear. It will wander into envy. It will wander into self-doubt. It will wander into excuses. The human mind is like an untamed horse. Leave it alone, and it will carry you anywhere except where you intended to go. Discipline it, and it becomes one of the most powerful forces on earth. Notice how kings carry themselves. They do not rush. They do not panic. They do not react to every piece of bad news. When others lose control, they become even calmer. Why? Because they understand something most people never learn. The moment you become emotional, you become predictable. And the moment you become predictable, you become vulnerable. This is why manipulation works so well on the average person. People know exactly which buttons to push. A little praise controls them. A little criticism controls them. A little attention controls them. A little rejection controls them. Their minds are open doors. Anyone can walk in, but a king guards his inner world carefully. He does not allow every opinion to enter. He does not allow every insult to affect him. He does not allow temporary emotions to make permanent decisions. He observes his thoughts without becoming their servant. He understands that not every feeling deserves obedience. Not every fear deserves attention. Not every desire deserves satisfaction. And not every thought deserves belief. This level of control creates a rare kind of power. The power to remain steady while others become unstable. The power to remain focused while others become distracted. The power to remain patient while others become desperate. Because in a world filled with emotional reactions, the calm mind becomes a weapon, and the man who masters his mind discovers something remarkable. He no longer needs to win every argument. He no longer needs constant approval. He no longer feels compelled to prove himself to everyone around him. His confidence comes from within, not from the applause of the crowd. And once a man reaches that level of mental discipline, he begins to understand another truth Machiavelli knew well. Power is often revealed not by what you think, but by what you choose to say. Control your mouth. Once a man gains control over his mind, he discovers another battlefield that destroys more kings than enemies ever could: his mouth. Many men lose power not because they are weak, but because they speak too much. They reveal too much. They explain too much. They complain too much. And worst of all, they react too quickly. Machiavelli understood that words are like arrows. Once released, they can never be taken back. Yet most people fire them carelessly. They speak from anger. They speak from excitement. They speak from insecurity. They speak because silence makes them uncomfortable. And in doing so, they expose themselves. Watch carefully how people behave when they are desperate for validation. The moment they have a plan, they announce it. The moment they achieve something, they advertise it. The moment they are offended, they express it. The moment they feel emotional, they broadcast it. They mistake expression for strength. But kings understand something different. Power grows in silence. The more people know about your intentions, the easier you become to predict. The easier you become to predict, the easier you become to control. Think about the most powerful people you have ever met. Were they constantly talking? Were they desperate to prove how intelligent they were? Were they explaining every decision they made? Usually not. They listened more than they spoke. They observed more than they revealed. They understood that information is a form of currency, and wise men do not spend valuable currency carelessly. One of the greatest mistakes a man can make is believing that every thought deserves to be spoken. It does not. Some thoughts should be examined. Some thoughts should be ignored, and some thoughts should die in silence. The average person treats their mouth like an open gate. Every emotion enters and immediately becomes words. Anger becomes words. Jealousy becomes words. Fear becomes words. Frustration becomes words. As a result, everyone knows exactly how to manipulate them. Everyone knows what bothers them. Everyone knows their weaknesses. Everyone knows where to attack. But a king is different. He keeps certain things hidden, not because he is dishonest, because he is strategic. He understands that mystery creates respect. People value what they cannot fully understand. People pay attention to what they cannot fully predict. This is why silence often speaks louder than arguments. Imagine someone insults you. Most people immediately defend themselves. They explain. They justify. They argue. They become emotional, and in that moment, they hand control to the other person. The insult now owns their attention. The critic now controls their behavior. But a king understands that not every attack deserves a response. Sometimes silence communicates greater strength than words ever could, because silence says something powerful. It says, "Your opinion is not important enough to disturb my peace." The ability to remain quiet when others expect a reaction is one of the rarest forms of self-control, and because it is rare, it is powerful. Machiavelli knew that leaders often reveal their weakness through unnecessary speech. A man who constantly boasts reveals insecurity. A man who constantly explains himself reveals uncertainty. A man who constantly seeks agreement reveals dependence on approval. The strongest man in the room rarely feels the need to convince everyone that he is strong. His presence speaks for him. His actions speak for him. His results speak for him. The weak seek recognition through words. The powerful earn recognition through behavior. This does not mean a king never speaks. It means he speaks with purpose. Every word carries weight. Every statement serves a reason. When he praises, it is intentional. When he criticizes, it is calculated. When he gives his word, people trust it, because he does not throw words around carelessly. Today, words have become cheap. People make promises they never intend to keep. They express opinions they barely understand. They speak endlessly, without saying anything meaningful. As a result, their words lose value. A king avoids this trap. He understands that the fewer words he wastes, the more power each word carries. Notice how dangerous emotional speech can be. A few seconds of anger can destroy relationships built over years. A few careless sentences can ruin opportunities. A few impulsive comments can expose plans that should have remained hidden. This is why disciplined men learn to pause. Before speaking, they think. Before reacting, they evaluate. Before revealing, they consider the consequences. Because once words leave your mouth, they begin creating outcomes beyond your control. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill every moment with conversation. But silence is where observation becomes possible. When you stop talking, you begin noticing. You notice intentions. You notice patterns. You notice weaknesses. You notice truths that constant talkers never see. The person who speaks the least often learns the most. And knowledge has always been more valuable than attention. A king does not feel compelled to participate in every argument. He does not need the final word. He does not need to prove his intelligence to strangers. He understands that many battles are won simply by refusing to enter them. Because every argument costs something. It costs energy. It costs focus. It costs time. And wise rulers protect their resources carefully. The greatest advantage of controlling your mouth is that it strengthens every other part of your character. When you learn to control your words, you learn to control your reactions. When you control your reactions, you control your image. When you control your image, you control how others perceive your value. And once a man masters what comes out of his mouth, he becomes capable of mastering something even more visible to the world: his actions. Control your moves. There is a reason kings rarely rush. There is a reason powerful men appear calm, even when opportunities and challenges surround them. There is a reason the most dangerous players in any game are often the least visible. They understand a principle that most people never learn. Power is not measured by how much movement you create. Power is measured by how much movement creates results. Most people are addicted to activity. They mistake motion for progress. They are constantly busy, constantly announcing, constantly chasing, constantly reacting. Yet years pass, and their lives remain unchanged. Why? Because movement without direction is merely wandering. Machiavelli understood that every action carries consequences. Every move reveals information. Every decision shapes perception. Every step either strengthens your position or weakens it. That is why a king never moves carelessly. Look at how the average person behaves. The moment they become excited about a goal, they tell everyone. The moment they have an idea, they broadcast it. The moment they face resistance, they change direction. Their lives become a series of impulsive decisions, driven by emotion rather than strategy. Today they are committed. Tomorrow they are distracted. Next week they are pursuing something completely different. As a result, they never build momentum. They never become formidable. They never become dangerous. Because dangerous people are consistent. A king does not wake up each morning asking himself what he feels like doing. He asks himself what must be done. That distinction changes everything. Feelings change every day, but it does not. The ability to continue moving toward a goal regardless of mood is one of the rarest forms of discipline. Most people only act when motivation appears. Kings act because the mission requires it. This is why they advance while others remain stuck. Another mistake people make is moving too quickly. Modern society glorifies speed, faster decisions, faster success, faster results, faster recognition. But haste has destroyed more opportunities than patience ever has. Many men ruin their futures because they cannot wait. They cannot wait to become wealthy. They cannot wait to become respected. They cannot wait to prove themselves. So they force outcomes before the time is right. They reveal plans before they are complete. They make decisions before gathering information. They chase immediate rewards and sacrifice long-term power. Machiavelli knew that timing is often more important than action itself. The right move at the wrong time becomes the wrong move. The patient man understands this. He observes, he studies, he waits, and when the moment arrives, he acts with certainty. This patience often appears like inactivity to others. People may think he is doing nothing. People may underestimate him. People may overlook him entirely. That is exactly what makes him dangerous, because while others are seeking attention, he is building leverage. While others are talking, he is preparing. While others are showing progress, he is creating it. There is another trait that separates kings from followers. They do not move for applause. Think about how many decisions people make simply to impress others. The car they buy, the clothes they wear, the opinions they express, the goals they pursue. Many people are not living their own lives. They are performing for an audience. They seek approval so desperately that they allow strangers to become directors of their future. A king refuses this trap. His actions are guided by purpose, not popularity. He understands that crowds are inconsistent. The same people who praise you today may criticize you tomorrow. The same people who support your dream today may laugh at it later. Building your life around their opinions is like building a castle on sand. The king moves according to his vision, not according to public opinion. This is why he appears confident, not because he knows he will always succeed, because he knows exactly why he is moving. People often confuse confidence with arrogance, but true confidence comes from clarity. When you know your destination, you stop seeking directions from everyone you meet. When you know your purpose, distractions lose their power. When you know your priorities, opportunities become easier to evaluate. Every move becomes intentional. Every action becomes aligned. Every step serves a larger objective. Machiavelli also understood the value of unpredictability. Predictable people are easy to control. If everyone knows what you will do next, your influence decreases. If everyone can anticipate your reactions, your leverage disappears. The strongest players maintain an element of mystery. They do not announce every strategy. They do not reveal every ambition. They do not expose every card in their hand. Instead, they allow their actions to speak when the results are impossible to ignore. Most people spend too much time explaining their plans. Kings spend their time executing them. There is a profound difference. One creates the appearance of progress. The other creates actual progress. The world is filled with people who talk about becoming successful, talk about getting disciplined, talk about changing their lives, talk about building wealth, talk about becoming powerful. Years later, they are still talking. The king understands that action is the only language reality respects. Dreams do not change your life. Intentions do not change your life. Plans do not change your life. Execution changes your life. That is why he values action over appearance, results over promises, consistency over excitement. He knows that every move either strengthens his position or weakens it. Every day is a chance to build momentum or lose it. Every decision compounds into a future version of himself. And because he understands the value of strategic movement, disciplined action, and patient execution, he begins to recognize another source of power that most people lose: control of long before they ever possess it, their money. Control your money. There is a reason kings throughout history obsessed over treasure, resources, and wealth. It was never because they loved gold. It was because they understood a truth that most people still fail to understand today. Money is not merely currency. Money is power. Money is freedom. Money is an option. Money is time. And the man who cannot control his money will eventually discover that his money controls him. Look around at modern society. Most people earn money only to immediately surrender it. The moment they receive income, they begin spending. Not because they need to, because they feel compelled to. They spend to impress. They spend it to escape boredom. They spend to soothe emotions. They spend to create an image. Then they wonder why they remain trapped. Machiavelli understood that dependence creates weakness. The more dependent you become, the less freedom you possess. A man who depends on approval becomes a servant to opinions. A man who depends on comfort becomes a servant to pleasure. A man who depends on money he does not control becomes a servant to circumstances. This is why financial discipline is not merely a financial skill, it is a form of self-mastery. Every purchase is a decision. Every decision reveals priorities, and priorities shape destiny. Most people never realize how often emotions influence their financial choices. Fear influences them. Envy influences them. Status influences them. Impulse influences them. They see someone driving a luxury car and suddenly feel inadequate. They see someone displaying success online and suddenly feel behind. They compare themselves to strangers and begin making decisions designed to impress people who do not care about them. This is one of the oldest traps in human history, trying to appear wealthy while becoming financially weak. A king avoids this trap. He understands the difference between looking rich and becoming powerful. The first requires spending. The second requires discipline. Most people buy liabilities because they want attention. Kings acquire assets because they want freedom. Most people ask, how can I look successful? Kings ask, how can I become difficult to control? The difference changes everything, because money creates leverage. Leverage creates options, and options create power. Imagine two men. One earns a large income, but spends every coin. The other earns less, but controls every coin. Who is truly stronger? Most people would choose the first man. A king chooses the second, because wealth is not determined by what enters your hands. It is determined by what remains under your control. Financial power is rarely built through dramatic moments. It is built through repeated acts of discipline, the ability to delay gratification, the ability to think long-term, the ability to resist unnecessary temptation. These habits appear small, but over years, they create enormous differences. Machiavelli knew that rulers who exhausted their resources eventually lost influence. The same principle applies to individuals. Every financial decision either increases your future strength or weakens it. Every impulsive purchase steals from your future self. Every wise investment strengthens your future position. The challenge is that immediate pleasure always feels more attractive than future rewards. The human mind craves comfort now, results later. But kings reverse this equation. They sacrifice now so they can dominate later. They understand that temporary restraint often creates permanent advantages. This is why they do not chase every trend. They do not buy every luxury. They do not compete in meaningless status games. They understand that many people are not purchasing things because they need them. They are purchasing feelings, the feeling of importance, the feeling of success, the feeling of acceptance. But feelings fade, payments remain, debt remains, dependence remains, and dependence has always been the enemy of power. A king seeks financial stability because stability creates confidence. When money is managed properly, decisions become clearer, fear decreases, desperation decreases, opportunities become easier to pursue. Many people are forced into situations they hate because they lack financial control. They remain in jobs they despise. They tolerate treatment they should reject. They abandon dreams they should pursue. Not because they lack courage, because they lack options. And options are often purchased through years of disciplined financial decisions. This is why money should never be worshipped, but it should be respected. The man who worships money becomes greedy. The man who ignores money becomes vulnerable. The wise man controls it without becoming controlled by it. He understands that money is a servant, not a master, a tool, not an identity, a resource, not a source of self-worth. Machiavelli would recognize immediately that many people today have become servants to appearances. They spend money they have not earned, to buy things they do not need, to impress people they do not respect, and then they wonder why peace remains out of reach. A king does not build his life around appearances. He builds it around strength. He values security more than applause, ownership more than attention, freedom more than status, because he understands that true wealth is not the ability to buy anything. True wealth is the ability to choose your life, to wake up without desperation, to make decisions without panic, to walk away when necessary, to remain calm when others are pressured, to act from strength rather than survival. And when a man finally gains control of his mind, his mouth, his moves, and his money, he no longer carries himself like an ordinary man. He carries himself like a king. Here's a strong Machiavelli-style conclusion that fits the tone of the entire script and ends the powerful call to action. Now you understand the difference between a man who commands respect and a man who constantly seeks it. The difference is not talent, it is not luck, it is not status, it is not even intelligence. It is controlled. Control over the mind when fear demands surrender. Control over the mouth when emotions demand reaction. Control over your moves when impatience demands haste. Control over your money when temptation demands indulgence. Most people spend their lives trying to control the world around them. They try to control circumstances. They try to control other people. They try to control outcomes. Yet they never master the one thing that determines all the rest, themselves. Machiavelli understood that power does not begin with authority. It begins with discipline. A crown does not make a king. A throne does not make a king. Followers do not make a king. A king is created through self-mastery. The ability to remain calm while others panic, the ability to remain silent while others expose themselves, the ability to remain focused while others become distracted, the ability to remain disciplined while others become consumed by pleasure. That is why true power is invisible. It cannot always be seen in a bank account. It cannot always be seen in social status. It cannot always be seen in appearance. It exists beneath the surface, in habits, in decisions, in restraint, in discipline. Every day, life presents a choice. You can continue living as a servant to impulse, or you can begin living as the ruler of your own kingdom. Every thought you control strengthens you. Every unnecessary word you refuse to speak strengthens you. Every disciplined action strengthens you. Every wise financial decision strengthens you. Day after day, month after month, year after year, until one day, people notice something different about you. You no longer seek approval. You no longer react to every insult. You no longer chase every distraction. You no longer fear every challenge. You carry yourself differently. You speak differently. You move differently. You think differently. And without ever announcing it, without ever demanding recognition, without ever asking for respect, you become the kind of man whose presence commands it, because the greatest kingdom you will ever rule is not a nation, it is yourself. And the moment you master your mind, your mouth, your moves, and your money, you begin to carry yourself like a king. If this message resonated with you, remember this: the world changes when the man in the mirror changes, and your kingdom awaits.